retailers are meeting with President Trump. And at issue, and we've been saying this all day, is the border tax. It should be probably called the border adjustment tax. It will be a 20% tax on everything coming into America. Now, the retailers hate it. Joining us now is David French, Senior Vice President at the National Retail Federation. David, welcome to the program. I'm sure that you share your colleagues and your trade association membership with this opposition to the border tax. My point would be, I think you've got the votes to defeat it. I don't think we'll see a border tax. I think you're going to lay that heavily on the president today. Am I right?
Absolutely. The voters who elected President Trump are the very same people who are going to pay the consumption tax that the border adjustment will become. This is a hidden consumption tax, a hidden national sales tax, and it's going to increase the cost of everything consumers buy, from food to fuel to clothes, and it's going to be a very expensive proposition next year.
Now, when the retailers emerge from that meeting, some of them may come to the microphone and make a statement. I suspect that if they pass any judgment on the border tax and what the president thinks about it, if they make a negative comment on it, I think the border tax is dead. In other words, that meeting could kill the border tax today. Am I going too far, David French?
Well, there's a lot of skepticism about a border adjustment in the Senate already. Many senators have been very clear that a border adjustment is too complicated and too dangerous to consider. The president has said that a border adjustment is too complicated, and we agree with him. And I think that we expect a productive meeting today at the White House.
David, it seems to me that that the whole idea of tax reform is beginning to shift. It's changing a little. We seem to be changing and shifting from purely taxing income and moving towards a situation where we also tax what we buy, what we spend our money on. You probably don't approve of that, do you?
Well, a consumption tax means consumers pay. And that's a concept that we're familiar with in this country because of our state sales taxes. But we really haven't ever supported a national sales tax along the lines of a European VAT. And that's, this plan isn't a VAT truly, but it's very close to a VAT. And I think consumers will be very unhappy when the average family's costs go up $1,700 as a result.
Yeah, you're referring to the value-added tax, the VAT, which is common in Europe, which is also added on to huge income taxes as well. But I want to go back to the retailers themselves. We are told, Charles Payne actually commented on the show earlier, that it is the major retailers who are indeed paying very high rates of corporate tax, well over 30% for some of them. And if the president gets rid or lowers the corporate tax, that's very good for the retailers. So on the one hand, you oppose the consumption tax at the border, but you're all in favor of dropping the top rate of corporate tax. That's basically your position, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Retailers have traditionally paid the highest corporate income tax rates in the country. We pay roughly 35% effective tax rates on our bottom lines. And we've always supported income tax reform. Our goal with this meeting, our goal in fighting the border adjustment, is not to kill tax reform, it's to save tax reform. We believe tax reform is very important. We believe getting to a tax rate in the 20s that would be competitive globally will help to preserve jobs, will bring jobs back to the United States, will strengthen our economy, and give consumers more money to spend. And that's good for retailers, and frankly, it's good for everybody.
How do you feel about being a lobbyist? I mean, that's what you are. Lobbyists used to be wildly unpopular. How do you feel?
I'm not sure that's changed.
Right.
I feel very good about being a lobbyist. I represent a great industry that creates millions of jobs, and we're really very, very pleased to be on the front lines of this issue.
No, we're pleased to have you on the show today. David French, thank you very much indeed, sir. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at the Dow Industrial Average, please. Will you look at it now? We're up another new high for the Dow. You've never seen this before. Now we're up close to 50 points, 20,500.
Stuart, can I add on to what David was talking about?
Go.
There's another aspect to this, too. These companies are Americana. Walgreens was founded in 1901. J.C. Penney, 1902. Target's roots go back to 1902. Tractor Supply, 1938. They hire millions of people. This is the essence. These companies actually are more the essence of a President Trump than the Boeings of the world and the GEs of the world who would like to see him crushed. And I'm getting a lot of good Twitter pushback on our segment. And, you know, people out there somehow believe that we've got a bunch of factories out now in America churning out underwear and that we can do this because we have alternative sources. We don't have alternative sources. This would be a massive tax, immediate tax on a lot of people watching this show. And I'm not sure it's the right solution.
And we should remember that it's the bricks and mortar retailers who are just under the hammer from the Amazons of this world.
Yeah, and they've been loaded up with debt by the private equity crowd. And to Charles's point, your viewers, a lot of them are small businesses. They can hire 50 million workers here. So how does a tax create the blue-collar and middle-class jobs that the president campaigned on, right?
I got to say, I just don't see support for the border tax in Congress amongst consumers.
We need to also make it clear that these people who are pushing this in Congress, they're conservative idealists. In other words, they're so intimidated by President Trump lowering taxes that they think we need to make up for it on paper immediately. They don't have any faith in supply side. They don't have any faith that what Ronald Reagan did can be duplicated. They don't have the faith, so they're immediately punishing people because they don't have the guts to go with a pure tax, lower taxes, reinvigorate the economy, and the coffers of the Treasury will fill up.
I think you're right. Eventually they'd fill
They
up.
will, but not initially. Of course not.
At first, you get a whopping great big deficit, a deficit and a half.